Oh, Jan, you got it. You're using currently your.
Oh.
Yeah.
Where's
Okay, you're
my?
not connected.
Oh boy.
Just.
Enforcement officer Craig Hayes. Walter's here. Good.
This is fine.
Is it? Well, that's weird. I'm just,
It's this.
do you want me to?
Kind of fun. We have like all these.
Do you have another
Yeah.
USB over there?
Mhm. Okay, let's try it.
That might be too much.
That's a lot of Christmas. 7 and.
Oh, that.
There you go.
They have looks like it's not as, they don't have as many
But
activities
that's
this
working.
year, but where are you? Festival Day. Like the parade is awesome. The parade's put on by the woman who does the Halloween parade in the East Village.
That's great.
So she does good things,
Hey, Dan, I reached Miranda
so
and so far I've got 3. If Miranda comes in and she's on her way, we'll have 4. So I really do want you to come because of the topics and your smarts on the stuff, but
here,
there's we're not gonna fall apart.
I can.
Dealing with the black, I think that's the next time. So I'm actually probably like no more than 10 minutes away.
Great, great. We're gonna,
I'm waiting there now.
we'll tell the folks online that we're gonna pause for a bit till we're filled in. Thanks so much.
Okay.
Awesome. Yeah.
Good.
So like my kids will probably go to.
And Miranda's
They
just
have
running
like
a little late.
the storytelling at Bridge
Yeah.
Drive, and then
But
we'll
we
see
can't
the-
really call the meeting to order. We should tell the folks online. We're just waiting for a quorum. They're gonna have to hang in for a bit.
No, I mean, this is great.
Good morning, folks online. We are just waiting for a quorum. And, we are about,
10 minutes out.
10 minutes out. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Okay. Yeah.
Lower, yeah. Line of chain of command. I think under admiral, you get to be captain
Yeah.
on the Navy, in the Navy side.
You were a captain in the
No. But I've been thinking about it. I missed an opportunity. After reading Moby Dick, I thought, "Damn, that's what's, no, did you read the Hornblower series as a kid? Horatio Hornblower and all that? Was that more, and probably was more boy stuff back in the day?
I was a sailor, though. My dad was an admiral.
Oh, no kidding. How cool is that?
Yeah, I really miss it.
Victor,
There is nothing like being out on the water when it's all going well.
Oh, sure, yeah. It's Victoria Florida. First last name at gmail.com.
More than, more than.
Gmail?
Switching
It's
Polidoro at
gmail.com.
Well, no, it was with our, wasn't it with?
So what do you guys think? We can actually come to order and get some stuff done. I want Kim in the applications discussions though, and she's on her way.
You wanna do the housekeeping stuff?
Yeah, I'm thinking that we, all the order, we get rid of the housekeeping, but
Okay.
I'd like to have Kim's voice on some of these. It is 10:05-ish.
Yes, ready to call.
Okay, so what we can do, meeting's called to order 10:05. We're waiting for our architect, Kim Wood, to come in on the new apps, but we can, since we have a quorum, we can go through a review of the minutes. And we've got 4 votes for the C of A's. So Jan, we're good on the minutes. I think everybody has been covered.
Yeah.
If there are no questions or concerns, Jan, are we approving 1 set or 2 sets today?
I'm sorry, let me just send this document to
Okay.
Victoria.
Thank you.
Okay. Did we approve the minutes? I'm sorry.
We did not. I'm asking if you need 1 approved or 2, are
Just 1.
we're current, just 1?
Yeah,
So it's the minutes of,
11/17, the
Terrific.
draft minutes that were sent to you guys yesterday.
terrific.
Make a motion.
Thank you very much. Paul, in a second, anyone? Jeremy, thank you. All in favor? Are there any opposed? Minutes approved? Let's go to C of A votes.
First up is 414 Union. I'm gonna share that C of A right now. This was the, let's see,
The fence.
the fence, for a fence and the retaining wall. This was the building that's, I call it the Arts and Crafts residence between Verizon and the post office. And the guy presented to us yesterday, or last meeting, live, they erected a privacy fence and then a retaining wall. And
Okay,
post facto, we wanted to approve that.
To approve.
I second.
in favor?
Aye.
Approved.
Okay. Thank you. Next up is
449 Warren.
441 Warren. Yeah. There you have document. So,
And this was the sign on Old Hudson.
yes.
Right. Painted.
The old name.
Yeah, no,
This is the old.
it's good sign, yeah.
Painted sign for Old Hudson Market and Cafe. It's going to be painted on the side of the building, the brick
Yep.
building. It's not a historic brick building. I believe it's owned by Galvin.
Right,
Okay.
we added a note that the brick was not historic per John Trouble. Yes,
Okay,
future discussion.
motion to, approve the CBA and a second, Paul and Jeremy in favor. Are there any opposed? It's approved.
Okay. Next up is 317. Let me get that document up. And that was the modification. I scaled back. So the scope of, to reduce, per the C of A, to reduce the scope of alterations pursuant to specifications, that was architect Cho and the owner Nicholas Haslett,
Yeah,
the Tiger House. The mortar will be historic, appropriately, in color, composition, and substance. They have scaled back on the window, the fenestration,
yeah,
all that.
good. Terrific.
So the application date was 11/6/23, if you want to type that in. But
Okay. how's the-
No flat tire will keep you from your appointed round.
I have a good husband. He was like, take my truck. I was lucky it happened right in front of the truck.
Thank you for pushing through.
Okay. And last but not least is,
Did we vote on, 317?
I think we did.
no,
No, let's do that. Motion in a second. Jeremy and Miranda, all in favor, 317 is approved.
Okay, next up, we have 122 Union. This was the quite significant renovation of the squat building with the transitional middle building and then the historic building.
Yeah,
Do you want to say anything?
oh, well, we added a condition that the sides remain unpainted and in their natural state, so they have the standard condition about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We had a public meeting on that.
we did indeed.
I make a motion.
Paul, thank you. And Miranda, second, in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Okay, let's go into the new apps, I think for now, because I think both, 2830 and 501, if it comes up, are going to be more extensive discussions.
Okay, first up is 549. Is there someone online who's speaking for 549? Oh, okay. Hi, Richard is there.
Hi, good morning.
Morning. All we want to do is, take away the word galleries from underneath and move the word stair down about 6 inches or so to center it. Did you get a picture of it in your?
Let's see.
What it looks like.
Oh, yes, I did.
And that's what we want.
Yes, okay, let me project that for the. And we can discuss with you. This side. Okay, so this is just, their gallery. And the proposal is,
Just to move the same letters down and take away the word galleries from underneath.
so this is the existing as it says, and this is proposed.
That's it?
That's it.
That's it.
We just don't really use the word, everyone just calls it stair, they don't call it stair gallery, so we just, we kind of rebranded it to just stair, so we thought we'd just take the word galleries away. So the sign company that put that up like 20 years ago or something is coming back to, they can do the work to change it. So,
Motion to find the application complete.
I make a motion.
Paul, and Jeremy, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to waive a public hearing and ask the city attorney to prepare a CFA. Paul and Jeremy, all in favor?
Aye.
Cool. So next steps, are, the city attorney prepares a CFA. Stay in touch with Craig. Cause you need the C of A. On the other hand, if there's some hardship involved, accessing your contractor, there's no risk in this application. Craig has the authority to allow you to move forward, if there's a reason to, otherwise you wait 2 weeks.
Okay.
But, I'll get in touch with Craig.
Okay. So
Thank you
we'll
very
just
much.
wait to hear from him or.
Call him.
Call him.
Yeah, I'll have your,
2 weeks.
yeah, what I said.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
I'm gonna go then.
Thank you
Yeah,
very
you're
much.
done. Thanks so much.
Thank you all very much.
Bye.
Okay, next up is, per the agenda is 326, 328, and the owner is present. Brian Bullitt.
Hello, nice to meet everyone.
Okay, let's put your application up.
Yeah, this is the application. And I can either drive or you tell me what to do and when to flip.
Sure. Have folks had a chance to read through it, or shall I just?
Go through it,
summary?
because there are also folks online.
Okay.
I mean, it's not quote unquote an official public meeting, but our
Yeah.
meetings are always public.
Sure. Yeah, so I purchased the house in May of last year. This house is an 1865 house. It's a Second Empire style house. Before I purchased it, it was known as the Hudson City Bed and Breakfast. It was operated as an inn for 37 years. Was run by a guy called Barry Butterfield before I bought it, and before him, there was a previous owner. And when I purchased it, it had some deferred maintenance, which I was aware of at the time of purchase. Before I entered the contract, I hired Chad Lindbergh, an engineer at Taconic.
Sure, we work with Chad.
inspect. Okay. And Chad had flagged a few items that needed to be addressed, which are simply the scope of the proposed project. And they are really 3 items: restoring the chimneys, repointing and potentially rebuilding 1 or more of them. The roof. And some carpentry repairs on the dormer windows on the mansard roof, as well as the soffits and fascia below the Yankee gutters, which in 2 spots have failed due to water penetration.
Sure.
The roof.
What's the existing roof?
So the existing roof is, so there's 3 sections of it. I'll start with the mansard. Portions of, so it's kind of a mismatch. Portions of it appear to be the original slate in a hexagonal shape. That's on the south side facing Allen Street. On the north side facing where Jan and Hugh live is a rectangular slate. On the west side is a mix of slate and asphalt shingle. And throughout, the existing slates are cracked or broken in many places. In some places, it's been patched with sheet metal. So it's kind of a hodgepodge. There's some photos in the
Yeah,
application.
let's look at it.
You want to flip, Jan, to page.
Right here.
If you go down one more page, and I think we'll be there. Yeah, there you go. If you want to maximize the window. So the photo on the top left is a good view of. You can see there was at one time a floral pattern, which is distorted now because it's been patched with tiles that don't match the pattern or bits of sheet metal. There are some spots where there are no slates and gaps, and the wood roofing substrate is visible. Fortunately, they're limited, but the purpose of this project really is to secure the building envelope from any water or ice penetration and prevent any further deterioration, and really address that deferred maintenance that I mentioned. In the future, I do plan to come back to the committee for some additional phases that'll be more cosmetic in nature, but this is really the urgent need, is to stop the deterioration. Phil, so you asked the roofing material, so we covered the mansard. Above the mansard is a flat roof, which is metal. We believe it's the original tin welded seam roof. It's in okay shape. It's coated with silver coat, but the silver coat is cracking. And rather than kick the can down the road and just repaint it with silver, I'm proposing to cover it in EPDM membrane, 0.06 thickness, commercial grade, which would then be flashed appropriately. You can also see in the bottom left there, the hatch. That's currently it's a wooden hatch. It's it works, but it's falling apart. And proposing to replace that with a metal Bilco door. None of this is visible from the street, by the way. None of this stuff on the top. And then the third element, Phil, to finish off your question of the roofing, the Yankee gutter is currently lined with asphalt roofing, tar paper, essentially. And while it's intact, clearly you can see in the top right, the soffits where water has penetrated through it. So it's beyond its useful life and leaking. And again, the proposal is to rip that out and replace it with EPDM. And again, not visible from the street.
You're gonna reline the existing gutters
with
with
EPDM.
a relatively seamless material.
Correct.
Cool.
And then all the perimeters would be, the existing drip edges are steel and they would be removed and replaced also with steel drip edges around the perimeter. Similarly, if you scroll down, Jan, or if you scroll up rather, one page, you can see the dormer windows peeking out of the mansard. The roofs of those are also metal, believed to be original. They are mostly intact, but there's some spots where they've been patched kind of poorly. There's some spray foam peeking out. And yet again, the proposal is to cap those with EPDM and steel drip edge to hide any imperfections in that original metal roof.
Jan, can you blow those up just a little bit?
One quick question, for this kind of pastiche of slate and asphalt that's exposed from the street, are you looking to replace all of it or to keep elements of it?
Yeah, the proposal is to replace all of it. I did look into restoring it and keeping what's there, but patching it with new slates. And it would not be cost effective to do that. Too much of it is too far gone. And I was advised by roofing contractors that in the process of doing that, you would lose so many slates to breakage that you might as well replace it all. And this is the material that I'm proposing. It's EcoStar Majestic Slate. It's called this color. It's called Midnight Gray.
We just used that material on the Uptown Brewery. A month or two ago.
Wow, this. Is it the same thing as being
It's the same
cast
stuff,
iron?
yes. This is just shows what it looks like applied. The shape is called chisel point, so it's a diamond pattern. And there's an example of a property on Warren Street that uses the same pattern in the pack. If you scroll up to, I think, page 13, Jan, you can see that.
Let's see, this is 13, so maybe it's further down.
There you go. I apologize, it's 18.
18, sure.
If you zoom in on the left side there, you can see the diamond pattern on 412 Warren. It all looks quite nice. Also a second empire.
And that's the same
Is that
material.
this material?
I don't think it's the same material. It's just an example of the pattern. The tile shape.
And you're gonna forego that kind of rosette.
Is there a way
Color.
is there a way of replicating the design?
I did look into that. So I did get a quote to replace it all with natural slate and match the design, and it was $600,000.
And then
I
with
can't
this,
afford it.
with this, and if they're
With
gonna
this
have,
material, they do not make this material in the hexagonal shaped tile. I also looked into Da Vinci, which is the other leading brand, and they don't either. they do make it in different colors. But after considering that, I thought it was gonna look better and be a better result to just go with a monotone. Rather than trying to come up with something that kind of partially gets there.
I understand, it won't look like an original product
Yeah,
that way, just gonna draw attention to it, I get it.
yeah, that was my concern, is that it might look fake, frankly. And this stuff, I've seen it on other buildings and it looks quite real from the street, and this is, 45 feet up, so. I think it'll blend quite nicely.
Kim, what'd you think?
The metal that's going over the dormers and other areas where you're doing the EPDM on top of it. And you said there's gonna be a metal trim, so from below, it's going to look. It should look exactly the same, right?
It
Other
should
than the
look
fact it's weather
seamless.
tight.
Should look seamless, yeah. And clean, that's the goal.
And so you're going to, for all of the trim pieces around the mansard roof, that's all going to, I imagine, get replaced as you put that in, yes? Yeah, and it will replicate the existing molding and trim.
That's correct, yeah. So the dormer windows, if you zoom in, you can see that they have some deterioration in places, and those wood elements that are damaged would largely be replaced. Like for like.
With wood.
With wood.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big lift of a project. There's a lot of stuff going on there, and it's admirable to replace it as much like for like. I think that's great. It's hard to pick at that. And I agree about trying to do the rosette with that material and stuff, to your point, Phil, and what you were concerned about. It's pushing it a little bit too much, I think. I mean,
You can see here the bottom right picture, that's an example of a poor repair job. That will be cleaned up and covered with the new metal edge.
Rating for DM is, why do we use it? Makes sense. Are you gonna end up putting, any mechanical units up on that roof when you do the Bilko doors? Get up there?
At this time, I don't have plans to.
I know it's not part of the application.
Yeah,
I'm just
HVAC, for
curious.
example.
Yeah,
I have explored HVAC, that's in the future.
that'll be one we talk.
But yeah, if I do, I'll obviously have to come back.
I was just curious because of having access up to that roof, because it's not like this is a roof that you go and hang out on or. Okay, yeah, I think this is great. Do you have anything?
Paul, Jeremy? Okay, motion to find the application complete. Kim and Phil? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion to waive the public hearing or request the city attorney.
I'm sorry, are the chimneys part of this?
Yeah.
Oh, so, and I'm sorry, I'm just, what is going to be?
Yeah.
So repointing, and so the I'll point you to the page.
I think it's 12.
11 is an example of the flashing, which will just be consistent with the EPDM. That's the house next door. It's Peter Meyer's house. And then 12, you can see the existing conditions. They need repointing, some bricks replaced. There's a potential that one of these chimneys may need to be taken down to the roof line and rebuilt. Because it has a slight lean.
Are those the chimneys on the left? Am I seeing correctly?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the chimneys.
it looks like a fair amount of new brick and new mortar on that. Or am I not reading it?
Yeah, that's right. They have been pointed and repaired and patched in the past, which you can see.
Yeah, not so well,
Yeah, they need to be cleaned up.
for sure.
So is the proposal to take it down or to restore it? What is the board voting on?
I'd like to request approval to do either. It will depend on, I'm bidding out the masonry right now. I've collected 2 bids. I'm getting some others, and different masons have different points of view about what they need to do. I would prefer to just repoint them if that will be sound.
But if they're rebuilt, they'll be rebuilt to replicate what is here with that.
Correct.
inset design.
Correct. The crowns are cracked, that you can see there's cement crowns, so those certainly need to be rebuilt. If we keep these existing chimneys, and then I'm proposing to put stone slab caps on all of them, elevated by 3 bricks.
I think I'm okay with that as long as we caveat that you're gonna build it in like, and I think also the type of brick that you're using, if you could reuse the bricks. Or something,
These,
matching the brick
It
as much as
needs
you
to
can
match. Yeah,
to the other.
and if it can be repurposed, you repurpose it.
Yeah.
It might be easier to have him come back with a plan for a new chimney, if that's the case. So we have all the specs and details of the type of brick. And, you know, what you're gonna do.
if it's gonna be a tear down and built back up again, I get that. If it's just a like for like repoint, I don't see it
Yeah.
coming back. So where are you on that?
That's fine.
The only reason I have a question is that, depending on how far you want to push it, it may be easier to tear it down and rebuild.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what the conditions are. Let's go ahead with, repair and repoint with the existing materials, and if you want to do something else, come back. It's not a big deal, but your contractors may find a better solution just starting from scratch.
Yeah,
You're gonna get a better product.
fair enough.
Then to begin again, is our vote legit on the application complete? We just took Victoria.
We're about to agree.
Yeah.
No, I didn't think it was a full.
Okay.
I interrupted it.
Yeah.
No, you're right to do it. Let's start again. Motion to find the application complete.
Make that motion.
Paul and Miranda, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion to waive a public hearing and request city attorney for suit. You know what I'm saying, Jeremy and Kim, all in favor? Go.
Thank you. Just quickly, the process from here out is, the attorney will prepare the C of A.
And our next meeting, which is, what are we talking about, the 15th?
Yeah.
We vote on that C of A, just like we did in the beginning of this meeting, as prepared by the city attorney. That goes to you and Craig, and you're off and running.
Gotcha. At this time, am I safe to pre-purchase some roofing materials?
It's your decision. I will tell you from experience, the probability of any big bumps in the road is incredibly small.
Yeah,
But the risk on you, otherwise you wait for the C of A in 2 weeks.
that'll be in 2 weeks. Yeah, okay. Would you like me to come back on the 15th?
No, we can handle it without the owner present.
Okay.
And all the stamps, C of A were published on the HPC site,
Okay.
cityofhudson.org.
Great. Thanks, Jennifer. Well done. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
It's gonna be a great project.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, you put a lot of thought into it.
Yeah, it's taken some research.
Yeah, you're learning more about materials than you ever wanted to. That's true. Yeah.
Ready to execute this.
The slate was gonna be 600K, but
That doesn't.
Full
show.
replacement matching the original pattern.
Jan, what do we have next?
Next up, we have a continuation, which is, Walter Chatham, who's online for 2830 Allen Street.
Good morning, everybody.
Would you like to share your screen, Walter?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, let's see, share screen. Fingers crossed. Is that appearing in front of you? Do you have the site plan up?
Hey, Walter?
Yeah.
For the first part of this discussion, it makes sense to just focus on, the project you designed and revised in response to our last meeting. The second part of the discussion on this, you want to talk about the black paint.
Okay, let's get the easy part, or hopefully the easy part out of the way first and talk about the stairs.
Please.
Okay. All right. So this is information that I presented last time. You can see the existing.
We don't have your screen yet.
Oh, okay. It said screen share. Hold on one second. Sorry. Let's see what to do about that. No.
And I'll get the document downloaded on my desktop if you'd like me to share.
Do you have the new one?
I do.
Okay, yes, please. Then I will defer to you. That would be great.
Okay. Let's see what we can do here.
Oh, I see. You know, I just started a new computer and it hasn't, I have to get a Zoom permission to share in the future. So that is what went wrong. Okay, so that's the site plan we presented last time, and it shows the double L stairs. It also shows the canopy at the back, and you'll see as I go through very quickly that the canopy has now been combined into one. It was two before, the way the stairs was separated. So we've made one surface. So please go on to the next image, Jen. Okay. Whoops. Great. Okay, so we can keep going, I think.
Okay.
That's just the survey. So did you not, this isn't the most recent presentation, unfortunately. I had inserted some renderings in. So I wonder what to do. Maybe I should try and get Zoom to allow me to share? Or
Yes, that'd be good. I do not have those documents.
yeah, I just emailed it this morning and I didn't think to send it to you. I so apologize to Craig and Phil. Maybe it would be faster if I just send it to you right now, Jan.
Yeah, send it to Jan.
Okay, hold on one second.
Oh, I got
Yeah,
my
I
little
don't
phone
think you
here.
copied me because there were other.
Yeah, I apologize. One sec.
Oh, I see. It's 9:33 a.m.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. We had trouble getting those. Okay, so Jan, it's coming to you right now, hopefully instantly.
Yep.
So while they're pulling that up, can we save a few minutes at the end and talk about the sidewalk and asphalt infill all over town?
Sure.
I don't know if you've seen it, it's like.
Walter,
drunk
did you
with
send it
asphalt.
to,
Impacts
my
literally
HPC
every
address
house.
or my personal Gmail?
I think I sent it to the clerk address.
Okay, great, thank you.
But have you seen it?
Where is it?
So
All
all over Warren Street,
Oh.
they replaced the pipe and they filled
They're
it
doing
asphalt.
the gas lines up and down
And they
the
basically
city.
took the same asphalt from the street and just patched all the sidewalks, but just little big black asphalt. All over that.
I think they did that because of Winter Ball.
Oh,
So there's no holes in the sidewalk.
Cool.
we know whether they intended to be permanent?
So remember we had that project.
Jen, does that come through?
They were gonna redo all the
Yes.
intersections,
Oh,
so
cool.
maybe they're like, it's a stopgap until they redo it.
Yeah.
Which is, if that's the case, okay, but I don't, if you look at it, it looks just.
Yeah. That sounds awful.
Yeah.
Walter, I believe this is the, hopefully this is the revision.
Great. You should find out very quickly if you go through a couple pages, there should be some new inserts.
Yeah, pretty clear.
You could probably go to. Oh, yeah. Okay. So good. So maybe we can start on that third page because
Hey,
Perfect.
Walter, if you could just touch real quick on some of the comments in the last meeting, folks were saying that it looked like it was kind of floating off the building. somewhat of a mod, et cetera. So that's what you're responding to.
Exactly. The term fire escape was used not necessarily in the best possible way.
That's very harsh.
So these are just some inspiration shots that I took to explain what we're going to try and do, and hopefully you'll see this in the renderings that are going to come up next. In the upper left-hand corner, there's a brick base. And so the first thing I thought to do is to take our former fire escape and fill in underneath that at the street for that first platform and make the stairs and risers solid. So that would, anchor it and avoid so much of that fire escape thing. And then the one on the right on the same upper level shows obviously some very nice, more elaborate pickets than we're proposing, but it's a picket arrangement that comes into a nice 19th century post. So we found some cast iron posts that can be welded to our code required railings. And so you'll see in a second, we're going to propose that. Then lower left is just another one of these brick entry stairs, emphasizing how beautiful a double stair like that can be, how it can feel. And then, the kind of fire escape look, but in a more elegant rendering. So, showing that the black iron can be quite elegant. Okay, so we could then go next image, I think, or some, so we have generated, and I apologize, it took a long time to get these done and they're not quite complete. But I thought this would give you a better idea of what we're trying to do. The pickets are now between these newels that would be these hopefully very attractive cast iron newels that I'll show you an example of in a minute. And our intention is to have a steel channel down at the base that would carry the brick. So this would do several things. As the grade changes, that would be a kind of datum that the grade could go against, so that part of that could be buried to absorb the slope of the sidewalk. And then, we're trying to maintain this gap. And the idea would be that the stairs beyond still would be quite open. And again, that's for the purpose, so you'll see in a second, maybe Jen, go to the next image. So you start to see it. So underneath those big long stairs, there are two doors. So I'm trying to keep it open for those residents. And then please show the next image. So again, I apologize. We didn't quite get the brick filled in under the stairs as I'd intended. So it's just showing at the outer plane. But as the other drawings show, this would be a brick enclosed. So you'd basically have two individual staircases, which when you're coming down the street, hopefully would tend to read as one. Maybe go to the next image, please. So that's kind of the effect that you would get. And you see underneath, then you have those doors, and you've got plenty of room under there because the stair comes out enough. And it is, this would be a commercial tread to riser stair, so a 7-inch riser and an 11-inch tread. So, hopefully very graceful. The next image, please. And there it is. And again, I apologize. We didn't fill in underneath, but that would be filled in with brick there underneath. And then maybe keep going.
Walter, sorry, just like the front straight across.
Yes, exactly. But it would have that split, as you'll see in the plan. There are two different objects, but it would read as a solid even on the sidewalk, I'm saying. And then if we go to the next image, let's just quickly do the canopy out back. I apologize. We put an extra set of chimneys on this at the back. They're not there. So the canopy has been dressed up a couple of ways. We've added a kind of diagonal bar in there, to make it look more like a truss. And then I found some, I think, quite attractive little acorn finials that we want to weld. That's what those little things hanging underneath are. And then the main thing, which you'll see in a second, is rather than the corrugated galvanized metal that we were going to paint black, we'd like to use galvanized copper sheet, which is very, in my opinion, attractive, it'll age like copper. We'd use copper gutter, copper flashing, and a copper roof there to dress it up a little bit. And then I think, Jen, please keep going. Yeah, there it is again. And we have the gutter chains hanging down there. And then one more, please. I think that's just the back straight on view. Yeah, there it is. So we've unified those two roofs to give it a little bit more presence and simplify it. And that obviously would be seen from above as a copper sheet. And then please keep going and we'll go quickly into all right, so the plans now, the lower left shows those solid hatched areas are the brick under the stair. That's the first level. And then if you go to the right, you'll see the little round black things are the new posts that we're proposing between the railing on the stair. Sorry, the next image to the right. Sorry, go back. Yeah, so the black dots on the right there, yeah, those are the posts. So you see where they would occur. And then also you can see that the rear entry has now been redrawn and respecified. And then if you go to the next sheet, there you go. This is a good one to stop at because you see there is an example of the posts that we're proposing to use and the corrugated metal that would be on the canopy roof. And also those little acorn finials, which are actually intended to be post tops, but can be welded underneath there to give it a kind of pendentive look. So what we're trying to do is meet the code requirements with the railings, but go to a more decorative solution as requested. And I believe that's my presentation.
Cool. Thanks, Walter. That was extremely responsive to our last discussion.
Yeah. I really appreciate you taking our comments and coming up with a solution that I think is really successful and responds to it. I mean, I appreciate it very much. I think it looks great.
Correct.
Just for clarification, there is a gap between the two staircases in the front, right?
Yes.
There is, yes, absolutely. And I think that's kind of an important, nice feature. So I'd like to hang on to that.
Yeah, it was funny because when I first saw that, I was like, does that bother me? But I actually really like it. And I agree with you. Yeah. Just because the other images that you showed of examples, it's all just one facade, but I think it's stronger in this application as separate.
This is a big difference.
Yeah.
Truly. And an upgrade from where we were.
So there are under the canopy in the back, you have the finials on the corner and no posts.
Correct. The canopy floats. The things that are hanging down there are copper gutter chains. Rather than a downspout, we just have chains to conduct the water down.
Folks? Great. Okay. Motion to find the application.
Wait, we're not quite done with the application because Walter needs to go through and again present all of the changes that are proposed on this application.
Okay. You mean changes to the building or changes since last meeting?
Both.
Okay.
So, just a reminder, it includes the second opening, right? You made a second opening, a second door.
Yes, sorry, good point. Okay, so right there currently, if you remember from that set of photographs at the beginning of the presentation, there is a window there with an infill sill. And yes, we're absolutely, I'm pretty sure that was the original opening and original door. So we're just going to restore that to match the one on the left.
Pardon? I want to get through the changes that he made and then bring up the paint as a separate issue because it's was never approved.
Okay, fine.
And it was never part of Walter's application, and I don't believe he ever intended to go forward with it.
So it's only the stairs, the second opening, and the rear canopy.
Correct.
And the moldings over the doors are existing?
Yes.
Two separate.
Right.
Mold-
Sorry. I-
Mold- Sorry.
Very well.
I was just going to say the moldings are intact, and actually there are nice rope moldings in the frames that are partially intact that, you know, will restore all the way down. Our intention is just to make both entries match.
Okay.
Okay, Walter, this is good. I mean,
In the door.
there's an issue that's gonna come up in the paint discussion. Because there's so much of this depends on a high degree of specificity. And one of the problems we've had on a couple projects now, are the issue of oversight. But we'll get to that. I will ask you about that.
And we have the door snacks for the new door? Okay.
I believe we do. So let's go again just on what Walter's presenting, and then I do want to shift the conversation to the black paint. And the issue of oversight.
Okay.
Can we try again for Kim?
We'll make a motion that this application is complete?
Yes,
Okay.
and a second, please. Jeremy, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to waive a public
Can I
hearing.
just, before we do, the doors underneath the staircase, have we seen what those look like?
Those are, I believe, existing doors that we are restoring and, you know, making weather tight.
There were no new doors there in the application, as I recall.
Miranda.
Mhm.
They are.
They are existing, okay, great, thanks.
Do we go ahead then?
Yep.
We had a motion to find the application complete. Did you get that done?
Yes.
A motion to waive a public hearing and ask the city attorney to prepare a CBA. Paul and Jeremy, all in favor?
Aye.
Done.
Thank you.
Okay, Walter, that was a great turnaround.
Thank you.
And we really, really appreciated it. It was really thoughtful.
I
Now,
I
with that-
appreciate the committee's work and want to be as cooperative and helpful as possible, and let's have the next discussion.
Okay, on the paint, there are a couple ways of looking at it. One is at a high level. There was no authorization from code to do any work on the exterior. Whether it was paint, repointing or whatever, and yet work went ahead. So that's, point A. And point B, I know we can go back and forth on code and coding and so on. But the code is very clear without any further need for specificity that, you're not supposed to disappear historic, elements. Basically, these houses are big boxes and they're defined pretty much by everything that just got painted black. I don't know where to begin. Craig, are
Well-
you on?
May I say a few things to kind of frame this a little bit? You know, I apologize for any role I have played in anything that has happened with any of these facades. I think there's a general maybe misunderstanding, and there's a nuance in this thing that I'm going to say in a second. There's a general misunderstanding that I wasn't clear on, that if something is painted, let's take, for instance, the white painted cornice at the top, that one was able to do that, to paint that without coming before HPC. So if that is wrong, I apologize. Same thing with the lintels over the windows and the sills under the windows above the second level. Those are all cast iron elements, very similar actually to 501 Union. And those always had been painted. You know, so our team thought that it was okay to paint those. Now, the next thing I'm going to say is controversial, and I don't have irrefutable proof, but I think I have a pretty good idea. The marble string course, and it is marble that runs all the way under those steps there, and the sills and lintels below them, those are stone. Those were painted, I believe. And if you look at the facade, actually, when this photograph was taken, the brick was painted. I think everything on the facade was painted. And there was I think a misunderstanding on the people doing the work, and I apologize if I miscommunicated this, that it was okay to paint because it was already painted. Now, the black paint, that was somebody else's decision. You know, my job is not to tell them what color to paint things. My job is to try and help them do the right thing with respect to committees like this. So let's discuss what's wrong, you know, what we did wrong, what the remedy could be, you know, what you all feel, et cetera. Let's just talk about it.
So Walter, this is in the context of 3 in a row now, with the same owner. We had a situation where lime wash was put on the building. And that was not agreed to. And the information we got back is, well, nobody told the painter. We had situation number 2, where brick and stair work was done as a repair. And the response was, nobody told the cement guy. And we have number 3 now on this, where you didn't have a permit for exterior work. And the answer was, nobody knew anything. The theme here is that there doesn't appear to be project management at a level of where someone like yourself participates in the discussion with the commission, understands the application. It appears to be going directly from God to the craftsman, and that can't go forward. What do we do? And then we can talk about the black paint. I think there's paint and there's paint. I accept the premise, if you take a knife or a chisel on that stonework that is now black, you'll find underneath that there was white paint that had faded. But what that didn't do is disappear all of the detail on the building. Somewhere there's common sense out there, isn't there?
I have no argument with anything you said. The only question I have, and this is a real question, is if I want to paint my building, do I need a building permit?
The answer is call Craig. Seriously, we don't issue permits. You did not have permit, or whoever was doing this work, to work on the outside.
I think there's also, I think the question was from the board member's perspective, whether in fact those surfaces were painted and what the surfaces are. I think
The surfaces
it's an
were
issue.
painted at one point in time, that's a statement of fact. But they had no authorization to go ahead with the work. No one checked in with Craig. He had not given a permit. It wasn't just painting, there was brickwork and repointing done in the same project. On the other building, there was a stop work order. And these folks continue to work. And number 1, of course, was the amazing lime wash, which may or may not be removable because it's old brick and it sucks it in.
And in that case, there was a specific detail in the certificate of appropriateness.
There was,
that the brick
but there doesn't have to be, you know, for Pete's sake. Why would you do that? Anyway.
So it wasn't just painting, it was also repointing.
Yes, there was pointing and mortar and replacement of some of the bricks.
Well, that's why I asked last time what.
It wasn't
what is
just
the scope
painting.
of What we're reviewing.
There was no application that addressed the outside. They were going ahead working without an application and without a permit from code.
Craig is online.
Craig, your thoughts?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, well, we'll go to the permit process first. And I believe Walter's right. Permits are not required for exterior painting of any building in the city. We wouldn't require a building permit for that. The original plan with this was, and the permit that was issued was for interior work only, with the ideal that if anything to the exterior was going to change, that the applicant will come back with an historic preservation certificate of appropriateness application. And the confusion with the paint, and this is an ongoing confusion. If it's already been painted, There is no guidelines or restrictions to my knowledge. If they wanted to repaint it, we've been down this before. As far as the marble or whatever the case may be, whatever's been painted. Unsure if we would even have a legal stance on that. Because again, if it was already painted and they're just repainting it a different color, I don't know what legal grounds we would have with that. The presence has been set before that these brick buildings, once they are painted, they can be repainted without any type of approvals. So, and again, I'm not 100% sure what their thought process was, or pointing fingers or whatever the case may be at this particular project. You're exactly right with the other projects with this company. But with this one here, I don't know if there was any intention. I just found out about this the other day, and I haven't even had a chance to talk to the company yet, which I'm meeting with them this afternoon. So I guess it comes down to the proof of the pudding is, was this building previously painted? And if so, can it be repainted without approval? And then secondly, any type of repair or anything of that nature, as long as it's like for like, same thing. That's always been allowed without a certificate of appropriateness.
Craig, I'm gonna, it's foolish on my part, because you know the code about 100 times better than I do. But being foolish quite often, I'm gonna disagree with you. The whole purpose of the code is about not destroying, eradicating, erasing, or covering up critical historic detail that at the end of the day is virtually irreplaceable. There's paint and there's paint. The white paint basically highlighted and brought out, when it was alive and well, the historic features of the stone and marble, that all of which were vaguely in the family of white or neutral. So that beautiful detail is visible. That beautiful detail is invisible. I don't believe that negating historic detail in a building like this so that you cannot actually see it anymore is within code. I don't. It's not painting. The stuff's been disappeared, and possibly permanently. I don't know if that black paint comes off. I don't know if that whitewash is going to come off. I see this as damage.
So
Just saying.
I guess my question, Phil, are you saying the elements of the building have been removed or just painted?
No, they've been masked, covered, and basically deleted with black paint. They've not been removed. But you can't see them. It looks like a mush of black.
I'd have to look at, I don't know what the legal interpretation would be. I'd have to check with the city attorney on that. But again, if they haven't removed any historic elements and they haven't altered any historic feature other than paint, based on
let's define the
previous
word.
presence that has been set, I don't know if we have a legal approach to say they couldn't paint this.
I don't either.
Right.
I'm just saying I want to challenge this because I think that's crazy thinking to say that somebody can take an amazing piece of detail that defines the period of the building, when it was built, and what the intentionality was of the builder, and cover it with a specific coating that makes it invisible. Either there's a public trust around these details or there's not. Victoria?
I mean, I think Craig and I should have an offline conversation about paint. I mean, we've discussed paint. For me, the one issue here was whether or not these were actually painted surfaces.
They were.
And to what extent, because if the paint has been virtually removed over the years, then it's painting a new texture or a new application, sort of like an old brick building that was painted. So I think there is some fact finding that we need to understand what the elements were, because some of the members on the HPC have seen a photo, and in the photo it does look like you can see stone surfaces. So I don't know the answer sitting there.
I'm gonna bring it up. I've just received a current photo. I will bring it up.
I do think there might be a slight difference between the whitewashing situation and this situation, whereas you could repaint this and restore it back to its original grandeur. You prime it and paint it and bring those things back. It's not gone forever. I think in the case of the lime wash where it's impregnated into the brick.
Right, it's all brick, it's gonna suck it all.
Story, and I think maybe conflating those two things.
Fair enough.
But
What I was complaining is that this applicant
Yeah.
has consistently ignored or not engaged on 3 projects in a row in the last 6 or 8 weeks.
Yes.
Including violating a stop work order, et cetera.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And there was the fourth one, the building at Third and Warren, was another case.
Back in the day, had critical marble segments
Yeah.
that were part of that specific, what was classic Altman Saks Fifth Avenue department store architecture. It had great specificity. And because somehow or another, we didn't say in the application, and by the way, don't destroy the marble that defines the architecture of the building. They put quote unquote a coating on it. I think that's a bit of sophistry.
Can you see the
Well, and
current,
that's why
the
we fixed
current,
that at 501.
building?
And they just
Craig?
directly violated.
Wait a minute, we got too many people talking here. I can only hear.
So can you see the current building, the black painted building on
Mhm.
screen now?
Yes.
Okay. So this is contemporary, this is current. This is the way the building was painted. And I don't know if you can see that this was prior, so I think the detail that was referred to is perhaps most obvious up at the top, but I'm not a.
There are a lot of black cornices and that's it.
Right.
I mean, I think as Phil said, the key issue here is accountability during the course of construction on a project. There has to be a way that the commission is able to say, whoa, wait, or if someone's going to do something that's not permitted in the certificate of appropriateness, as it was the case with 501 Union, that they have to come back to the commission and get permission.
The problem here though, is if it was paint over a painted surface, a truly painted surface, then it's not something that we would regulate.
So
So,
Victoria, that paint is worn down to basically
well, that's
nothing.
what I'm
According-
saying,
You know,
it's an issue of fact, if the paint is so worn down that there's.
Back in the dawn of time, it was painted. There's no argument.
Right, but I think that's a little bit different, if we're changing what the surface is currently to something new, then I think it's a factual question.
I don't know what you mean by factual. Once upon a time, that paint wore down.
Oh, I just want to correct one error, I think, Phil, which is the paint wasn't worn down. The lintels over the ground floor windows are bluestone. They're not marble. And so they appear white in the photograph we were just staring at for 5 minutes because they were painted. And, you know, I did go back and satisfy myself that even the string course was painted. You can see elements of the white paint still on the side of the string course where it returns to the door. So I think there are a couple issues here that I agree with, which is that HPC should really start thinking about how you can control color. If you don't want somebody to do something that you think destroys the look of the building, don't let them paint stripes on the eyeglasses store on Main Street. Don't let them paint out those beautiful slate rosettes on that building on 5th off Warren that got painted all black. You know, I mean, I'm not crazy about this stuff happening either. So I'm with the HPC. I think you need to go boldly into this color territory now and have positions and tell people what works and what doesn't. I mean, we talked about maybe a little brochure that people could get that explains that black paint hides all the beautiful detailing. You know, I mean, a lot of things are done kind of willfully and without really thinking them through. And I'm 100% in favor of getting more chops here. I do continue to believe that this building legally could be painted because it was painted and the parts that you're saying it had worn off on were opaque, but I'm certainly not going to defend the black paint.
And if you want, I'll add a little bit more. Coming from what I'm looking at in this picture, up on the top where the cornices is and everything, can I see them details? Yes. Can I see them as clearly as I could if it was white paint? No. But I can see. And it was a painted surface. That doesn't require a building permit to do. It hasn't required a certificate of appropriateness in the past to paint. We've come to the scenario in our office that when people come in and ask me about painting the historic district, the first question I ask is the building painted now, and if so, is it brick? And if the answer is no, then we tell them, no, you can't paint it. But if it's already been painted and the brick has been covered with paint, the presence has been set in the last 9 years that they don't need a certificate of appropriateness. Is there any wrongdoing here, in my opinion, based on the way the code is written and enforcement end of it? No. If you want these things detailed out, and if you want these things regulated under a code, I suggest you sit with your attorney, sit with the legislators, and redo and amend the code. You got to remember, this code was adopted, I believe, 17 years ago. Okay? There's a lot of things that have occurred in that 17-year period that probably was never even thought of when they designed this code. All right? I know under New York State code, we're updating our codes every 3 years because things change over these time periods where when codes were designed, these ideas weren't even thought of at that point. So again, I don't know how we want to approach this from a legal aspect. I would have to talk to my legal advisor, which is the city attorney. Based on the information that this commission is telling us that this applicant has intentionally wronged and violated a code. I don't see that, but maybe I'm missing something. And that's why I have a legal advisor in the city attorney. That's the best way I can answer that.
Can we look at this a little differently? Maybe it's about the relationship we have ongoing. We obviously work with you a lot, and maybe as part of this relationship, we say, let's just discuss any other treatments you're going to do so we don't run into this situation again. Yes, we can't necessarily mandate every decision, but we can weigh in and help to try to guide some of these things. So in the absence of a code that's going to specify that we can only define X number of colors with more, and we can instead have a conversation with you, Walter, and say, what is the plan for this, and can we weigh in and talk about it as part of the application?
I think that's just hard to enforce that though, without having something more black and white and what is required or not, you know, like it's a nice thought, but then it's like, where do we stop or where does he stop?
That's the key right there, Kim, and Jeremy, I can understand exactly what you're saying, but we can't do that just for this applicant. We have to do that across the board for everybody. We can't get into this, well, it's this group, they have to follow this rule, but everybody else doesn't have to do that. You can't do that. That's selective enforcement. This office will not do that. I haven't done it in the 10 years I've been here, and I'm not going to start now. So it's either across the board that we have a resolution approved code to address these issues, or we go on the presence that has been set in the last few years or last 10 years, whatever it's been, regarding paint on painted surface buildings in the historic district.
Well, I think we take this as the opportunity to figure out, as you said, the code, the last time this piece was written was 17 years ago, and maybe we do need to reconsider it. And if we can't enforce it now on this one, then in the future we could. But I mean, we have to think on what that means, like what would we?
I know.
It's just
Well, I also think there's a difference between this situation, which is at best debatable. And, you know, I think you can make a case that this was painted previously, so he has a right to paint it now. Versus in 501 Union, we made a point of pointing out the brick in the certificate of appropriateness because we had the experience with the building on Third and Warren, which was covered with paint, the marble finish.
Right.
And we didn't want to see that happen again. Also, we've become more sensitive to the brick surfaces on the older buildings. So what is our enforcement mechanism if, and not just this applicant, but anyone disregards something that is specifically called for in the certificate
So,
of appropriateness?
I mean, this board does not have enforcement authority.
Understood.
You sit
Yes.
and you review and you approve or deny, and then enforcement goes to another entity of the city. And so what you're stuck with is the situation we're gonna have with 501, where you're gonna have to look at this treatment, if it can't be removed, and decide whether it was appropriate. Again, some people think it might be appropriate, or whether it's not appropriate for that building, and then if it's not appropriate, what actions can you do with that harming the building? So
And there does have to be some means
What-
of
what
enforcement, or else our.
It's Craig's office, he is the enforcement officer of the city, and so, you know, we have to hand off the violations and let the city prosecute them ultimately.
Do we have 501 on the agenda for, I mean, I see it on the agenda,
Yes.
forgive me. Are there people out there?
No, we didn't get an application, they were.
We don't have
They
anything for them.
intend to submit today was the last I heard.
So 501's not on the table right now, until they come and make a presentation on that. Is that
Well,
correct?
they're not on your table, I mean, it's whether or not the city's going after them as an enforcement action, I don't
That's a
know.
question.
But it's
Correct.
not on the HPC agenda.
Okay, so let's finish, on 2830. Where are we at?
We approved
We
the proposal.
approved the work, and now the paint was a discussion.
Okay,
But what we're hearing from Walter is everything painted was painted at one point in time.
So I wanna be careful though with the one point of time, because if you look at the building in the prior picture, it looks like the brick was painted also.
Yes.
yes, it
But
was.
now the brick is not
The
painted.
brick was painted.
So I don't think the standard should be painted at one point of time. I think it needs to be, what is the surface now, today, at the time that the change is being made? Because if we say at one point,
Delta from its current state.
Yeah, from current state.
Discussed.
because if we say at one point in time, that would allow the applicant here to go back and repaint that building, and I don't think that's the intention. So,
No, we're
I
just
think-
talking about the decorative.
no, I know, but I'm saying, I think the standard, again, no one went out and did a site visit, so we don't know what the state of the lintels and everything was at the time of painting, but Craig, do you agree that it should be changed at the time of its current condition, not what was historically necessarily?
I don't know if I understand exactly what you're saying.
So the standard for painting is whether the surface is completely painted now, not whether it was painted at one time in its history.
Yeah, it's what it is in the existing condition as of the time they apply or the time they do the work. I have no idea what it looked like 40 years ago.
Well, we have,
But hang on one second, Walter. Let's clarify something real quick about enforcement. Okay, first off, we're talking about Allen Street, not Fifth Street. Two totally different scenarios.
Mhm.
The enforcement mechanism is just that, and Victoria's exactly right. There's no commissions or boards in the city that have any type of enforcement authority. Okay, if you have a complaint based on anything that an applicant or a property owner has done, you file that complaint with this office. This office will review that complaint and investigate that complaint to the letter of the code. If there's a violation, then we would issue the appropriate violation to the property owners. And with the appropriate procedures they would have to follow. If there is no violation, then there's nothing we can do with that. So that's where this lands. So if this commission right now is not happy and you want to file a complaint with what the work has been done to the exterior of this building, you file that with this office and we will proceed legally based on the code. But you have to understand something, if there's no violation, there's nothing we can do. Okay? So as I stand here right now, based on the way the code is written, and I'll review it again, And based on the past practice of painting brick and painted buildings in the historic district, as far as I'm concerned, there's no violation here. Any of the work they've done to the outside of this building would not have required a code review from this office, would not have required a building permit. All right, so that's where moving forward, if you want these things corrected to where we do have more teeth and enforcement power, that's where you have to sit down with your legal representation, come up with that proposal, submit it to the legislators, which is the Common Council, and amend the code. Until that happens, just picking a property and an applicant because of who they are, you can't do that. And again, you know, is this the first time this has happened? No. Has it happened to other property owners? Absolutely. And it happened in this city. And again, we address these things when we see them or we get a complaint on. I received this 2 days ago. Now, again, it took some time to do all this painting and everything. Nobody said a word when this was taking place. Now we find it the day before the meeting, I get notified about this. So we have to look into it legally. But again, these are the procedures that we have to follow. We can't just violate somebody because somebody says we have to. People have legal rights. That's it.
I think back to the vote, this is a gun topic. That's what I'm understanding. And if we want to have more control, it's a bigger question.
It is a challenge. I really want, I'm gonna go back into the code myself, because I think there's something, using, for lack of a better word, a technical premise, which is, it's either this or that, it was painted, it wasn't painted, and so on, is fine, and it makes it probably enforceable. But the spirit of the thing is to not obscure, destroy, mask, or minimize the relevance of critical historic detail that defines the building. So I'm gonna do my own exploration, because I understand at a detailed level that there's nothing we can do, but then that doesn't make sense. Then why have a preservation code if stuff doesn't get preserved?
Well, can I just say one thing? Because I don't disagree with you, Phil, but one thing that has to be pointed out is you had a perfectly attractive rotting white cornice that has now been repaired and ironically painted so you can't see the detail as well, but the detail has all been preserved. All those little W's, which I assume were my initial, all that stuff is still there. It's all been fixed, filled, you know, repaired and painted to preserve it. So if someone comes along and says, I'm going to buy this house, but I hate the paint job, they will paint it white. And then you'll have all your detail, which has been preserved for that moment. So it's not like something has been lost. You've got a temporary situation where the aesthetic is not satisfying, and I can't argue with that, but it's not like the preservation goal has not been achieved.
Okay, I understand, and that's what's so sad about running into a situation like this, because clearly this is a fantastic project. Clearly, a lot of positive work has been done on the building. I mean, all good. All right. We should move, you're right, Walter. We should move on. What's happening with 501? What's or nobody's presented on that today?
Sorry.
So we have a report. Sorry.
Sorry, apologies.
Go ahead,
No, I
Walter.
was going to say there's a report coming. I saw a draft. The draft was approved. So it was approved for submittal to you all. I'm thinking it will come today. I think it's a good report. We'll let you guys make up your mind and see what you think.
Maybe this is not fair, Walter, but just from a working relationship, because the same owner has a couple projects going, they're significant, and they should be getting credit for great, and thank God somebody took this on, etc. And that really is where I would like to land, but it's harder to do some days than others. Okay, so we'll wait on 501. For that presentation. That's all I got.
Do you remember the large hotel they're building on that combination, and there's some line washing that in our approval said we'd love to see versions of it before it happens. I
Yes.
think if we can just reiterate that point heavily, that we need to see some tests of what the line wash looks like. It's gonna be, I think it was to partition some of those sections, make it look less.
Yes.
So
For the public house.
yeah, so if we could just reiterate that now, just so we don't run into this situation again, that we could see those, Walter.
Sorry, you're talking to me about the hotel on Fourth Street.
Yes.
That's for
It's fourth, sorry.
Yeah, I think that was a slurry wash, actually, which is a little different. That has a mortar, cement component to it, but absolutely.
Yeah.
Victoria, are you gonna give this a noodle and see where we go, talk to Craig?
I mean, I think if Walter says it was painted and no one has evidence that they weren't painted, then I don't think there's an issue. I mean, the question came about because they appeared unpainted in the photographs.
Okay,
But if they were painted and he painted them, then I don't think it's a violation. As Craig explained, the board does not regulate paint. But the bigger question for this board is, this came up last year when the building was painted. Do you want to propose a code amendment to regulate paint?
I'm not talking about paint. I'm talking about actual damage, visual damage
But
to
see,
historic
that's
elements.
too subjective, because everyone paints their buildings gray, monotone gray. And so, are you gonna consider that damage to a historic structure when it can just be repainted by the next person? I mean, some people like them.
Do we have anywhere in the code the right to go back to the applicant and say, we would like you?
No, we need a bright line rule. Either you're reviewing paint or you're not reviewing paint, because otherwise it's too subjective and it's too prone to, you don't like a particular shade, you don't like it.
All right,
Yeah, and we have to treat everyone the same.
and we're waiting for a proposal on 501.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. What is that? Where did that come from?
What?
I found that online.
With the black trim. Oh my God. I rest my case.
Well, I don't know if it's black, but.
Thank you, Paul. Now those doors are
You're not
gone.
white.
Yeah, those doors are gone, unfortunately. Wow, there's the original stair too.
Paul, do you know those people?
No, I do.
Born in 1880.
I did
All right, did we finish our major business?
Can we talk about the?
Yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry.
And maybe there's nothing we can do, and I'm Craig, I'm curious if you've seen what's been going on with the sidewalks and everything, in Hudson with the infill everywhere. But
Yeah.
there's been a pipe that's been, looked like it was dug up and they replaced it, and they put black asphalt, like chunky asphalt over it in the street. They took that same black asphalt and have been slapping it literally in every crevice of the sidewalk between like Fourth and the water.
That's not a code enforcement issue. That's the sidewalk construction is based on Department of Public Works on what they are doing. I think what you're talking about is the recent gas line installments and what's going on. Some water line repairs or whatever the case may be. If I had to guess, the blacktop is a temporary fix until they can do the cement work or whatever they're doing. But the construction of sidewalks is issued through the Department of Public Works Commissioner.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, can we ask that question?
Sure. Craig, do you know offhand whether there are specifications in the city code for sidewalks? I thought they had to be cement or the equivalent.
No, there's nothing, I'm not 100% sure the new legislation that was just or approved by the council regarding the sidewalks that was approved, I think, this past year. In the code, there is a specific design for sidewalks. And again, they realized over the years, in my opinion, because I brought this up about 8-9 years ago, if we were to follow that code, then 90% of your sidewalks are in violation of the code, including blue slate, brick, and everything else, because the code is designed to be cement. And it was talked about a few years ago, instead of, because we would go to all these properties like on Union and Allen Street to have slate sidewalks. And theoretically, the way the code is written, that's a violation. Because the code calls for cement design sidewalks. And I think in this new legislation they did, I think that changed that. I'm not 100% sure. But we generally, realistically, or do we even approach that unless it's an unsafe sidewalk? No. But this is a good conversation, and sidewalks are not reviewed by historic preservation. So
Okay.
it's a kind of a catch-22, and I think again, the code is old and it's never been addressed. And it came up a few years ago when we had a property on Allen Street that had just that. They had the slate stone, and they were picking them up and they were redoing the underneath and making them level and put them back nice and neat. And somebody complained because it was not in compliance of the design that the city code requires. So when we looked into that, we were like, uh-oh, what do we do now? And I don't know where that ever even landed, how that got resolved, but unless it's an unsafe sidewalk and right now, I think what Jeremy's talking about is due, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's all due to the gas line work that's taking place.
Yes.
I know of one over on State Street, they redid the water line. And they had to patch in the work quickly because they're gonna redo the whole entire sidewalk, so they just use blacktop to patch it until they do the whole sidewalk. So sometimes you'll see that. It's a temporary fix.
We do all the intersections on Fourth, I think, or was it?
Yeah,
So maybe they're thinking
maybe that's the next step.
for now, just get it even and.
Maybe
do
we
you
should
want me to
as a
ask Rob?
commission.
I'll either call him or just,
Just
let me know
just
what
walk
the
on
next
the
steps
south
are.
side of
No,
one.
I know what it looks like.
Yeah.
Okay, I will ask Rob. Not a problem. Anything else, folks? Okay. Motion to adjourn
Make that motion.
in a second. Done. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Craig. Big pleasure.
Thank you.
Cheers, everybody.